D, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Khan that Section D of the General Committee report dated September 14, 2015, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Khan, that Section D of the General Committee report dated September 14, 2015, now circulated, be adopted. This is the City Council bump-up request for the site plan approval for the South Barrie Secondary School. Comments, questions, amendments? Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. I'd like the opportunity to just to address this once again from last week. There's been a lot of interest from the city, from the media, and from members of my residents of my ward. And I just want to reiterate that we want the school built. I know City Hall wants the school built. I'm pretty sure that the majority of the councillors sitting around this room, if not all of them, want the school built. I know that trustees want the school built. I know that the school board wants the school built. So we all want the school built, so let's get the school built. You know, safety of the students is really the #1 concern. And I wanted to make sure that, you know, in the upcoming plan, the new plan that the school board comes back with, that safety obviously is paramount, and that the pickup and drop-off is a safe area. And so I wanted to maybe pause here and ask maybe if Stephen Naylor could maybe address if the City Hall would be interested in having a bit of a half moon along Mapleview for pickup and drop-off.
Mr. Naylor.
Your Worship and members of council, we have not had a specific look at that specific design alternative, but certainly City Hall, the staff will look at any design opportunity that we could that would have the effect of reducing safety and improving the operation of the site. So yes, we would.
You may want to stay up there.
Historic that, so.
If you don't mind.
No.
So I'm obviously going to vote in favor of adopting the school board deferring this for the next 2 weeks until next City Council. And I'm got a huge dream and hope that the school board comes back to us with a plan that makes sense for everybody at hand, that that the staff and City Hall get together and make a plan that is great for the residents. And just to clarify what the City Hall is looking for people at home that are just tuning in now and don't understand what's going on, I'd like maybe Stephen Naylor, if you don't mind, to explain exactly what is expected from City Hall.
Your Worship and members of council, last week we tabled a report with council outlining our review of the proposed site plan from the school board, and we noted that there were a number of policies in the official plan and urban design guidelines that we felt were not upheld and addressed through the school board's site plan. And most notably, it was highlighted that the location of the school was of particular concern to staff, being as proposed at the south side of the site. The policies of the secondary plan, the official plan, the urban design guidelines, all suggest to staff that the location should be at the north side toward the intersection of Prince William Way and Mapleview. So that was the primary concern that staff noted in our report to council last week. Okay.
Just to end, you know, one of my favorite quotes that I live by is that when your vision is clouded, so will your results. So I just hope that over the next week, 2 weeks, that city staff and trustees and anybody who's involved here, especially the school board, have a clear vision, and let's have a safe school and get the school built. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor McCann. And you referred in your remarks to a deferral. There was a deferral request that has been sent to us from the director of the school board. You have an amendment, I believe, to that end. Do you want to put that on the floor for discussion, or are you looking for more discussion on the main motion first?
Either way. So, read.
Okay, why don't we get the amendment on the floor if you're prepared.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Khan, that motion 15G 187 of Section D of the General Committee Report dated September 14th, 2015, concerning City Council's bump-up request of the site plan approval for the South Barrie Secondary School be deferred until City Council's meeting scheduled on October 5th, 2015, to allow the Simcoe County School Board to prepare a plan with the school board located at the north end of the site, the north end, and they're open for discussion in staff and planning services department, and that such discussion be required to include potential solutions to concern regarding the location of the school at the north end of the site and potential measures to mitigate the financial impact of the revised building location. Second part, the staff and the planning service department provide a memorandum to City Councils describing two things. The first one is the matter discussing by Simcoe County District School Board by planning staff of their meetings. And secondly, the challenges and solutions to any concerns related to locating the school at the north end on the site. That was a lot clearer than what I said. Thank you.
Okay, the amendment is as follows. It's moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Khan. One, that motion 15G 187 of Section D of the General Committee Report dated September 14th, 2015, concerning the City Council bump-up request for site plan approval for the South Barrie Secondary School, be deferred until the City Council meeting scheduled for October 5th, 2015, to allow the Simcoe County District School Board to prepare a plan with the school located at the north end of the site for discussion with staff in the Planning Services Department, and that such discussion be required to include potential solutions to concerns regarding the location of the school at the north end of the site and potential measures to mitigate the financial impact of a revised building location. Two, staff in the Planning Services Department provide a memorandum to City Council describing A, the matters discussed by school board staff and city planning staff at their meetings, and B, the challenges and solutions to any concerns related to locating the school at the north end of the site. Did you want to speak to that, Councillor McCann?
I think I was pretty self-explanatory in the beginning, so.
Okay. Just for members of council, just a bit more information. I actually asked that the clerk prepare this motion in consultation with Councillor McCann. I have a little bit to say about the issue itself that stands between us and the board at the moment, but just by way of an update as to what's sort of transpired this week. There were discussions between the CAO and the Director of Education, as members of council are aware, and on the basis of that high-level meeting, the Director has requested a deferral. The Director of Education has requested that we defer this item. On Friday, there was an open letter issued by the Chair to the media, which I think from their point of view was intended to address some other concerns that they had with public discussion that surrounded this issue. But it also, to me, seemed to indicate that because of safety concerns, there was not any flexibility in the board's position. So I took the opportunity to correspond with the Director of Education and have some conversations with trustees over the last 2 days. I must admit, I remain unconvinced that a fulsome effort will be made here to address all of the concerns. However, I wish for that effort to be made, and I believe that the director and the staff of the board do intend to prepare the plan. I believe that the concerns that have been cited by board staff and by some of the trustees need to be discussed further. And I think, the default with all of these sort of situations is that, if an applicant comes to us and asks for more time, then I'm always inclined to support that. I would rather that we work with people who are proposing a development in our community to try and see if we can achieve a better development. The correspondence that I have received would indicate that there will be a plan prepared that looks at the site at this end, or at the north end. But the board's intent is also to provide a summary of all the reasons that presents a problem. And that's why I'm not hugely optimistic But I will say that I want to give it a try, and that despite what sits between us, I do appreciate that the director reached out to our CAO, and that trustees have continued to have conversations, because I do believe ultimately we all do want a resolution to this. I'm not sure we're ultimately going to be able to overcome the issue, but it behooves us to give it another 2 weeks to try. If there's some perhaps questions out there about why the language in this amendment is so specific, I think one of the problems in this process has been, for whatever reason, the communication has not been great. I can tell you that despite a lot of interest in the matter, I'm still unclear about some of the board's concerns. I'm sure they feel that way about ours, as Councillor McCann indicated in his remarks. So there's another reason why another 2 weeks isn't a bad idea. At least perhaps we can get some of these issues documented, out on the table with better information for further discussion. I guess another comment that I would make, it has been said that the concern is now safety. And I want to make it absolutely clear, at no point would city staff recommend approval of a site plan that they felt was unsafe in any way, nor would city council approve one. And I think that perhaps was a part of this misunderstanding. But I don't think we should take any remarks that were made in the last few days to necessarily suggest that City Council would approve an unsafe plan, or that City staff would approve an unsafe plan. The goal here is to end up with a plan that everybody does feel will work well for the students, but respects the intent of our urban design guidelines, and more importantly, as well, our policies. I think Mr. Naylor, noted that this isn't just the guidelines document we're talking about. In that staff report we had last week, there were the official plan policies, the secondary plan policies, and they all have been in place and out there for some time. So the other thing I just wanted to mention while we were here, this is an important issue. So I went up to the new Aurelia Secondary School site to take a look at it. And I pulled off from the board's website the image of the school. So Councillor McCann said, what do we want to see? In my opinion, this is what we want to see. So I'm sorry that you're all looking at this from a distance. I'll pass this around, and I do have some of the other pictures here. But this is the cover of the presentation that was made to the board. And this is, in fact, what's under construction. So here's Park Street and Collegiate Street in the city of Aurelia. This actually shows them Park Street as a 4-lane road. It's not today. I don't know if it will be in the future. Today it's a very sort of busy 2-lane road, Park Street in Aurelia, for those who know it. Probably busier than usual right now because there's a detour in the area. But, the point here is the school is right up at the street. And if you go up and take a look, I took a few other pictures of the site. I mean, it really is right there. It's right up against the front of the site. Now, it's not literally on top of the sidewalk. And I think maybe there's been some misconception that we're proposing that the school should be right up at the sidewalk like a downtown building or something like that. That's not the case. This truly is what I'm looking for. This has a drop-off space in front, space for the students to come out in front, to safely be in front of the school, in the same way that Eastview has its entrance near the road but has a driveway and some visitor parking, in the same way that Barrie North has that drop-off to get the cars off the street safely, but the building's still close to the street. In the same way that Barrie Central, up against Bradford Street, is designed in that way, and in the same way that the board has designed the new school in Aurelia. This is really what I'm looking for. And, when you look at some of these other pictures, I'll pass them around. The school's beautiful. They've done a great job, and it addresses it comes close to the corner of the site, but there's that area in front that will allow that sort of safe student movement. So, while our design guidelines speak in detail about bringing the school up to the front of the site, I don't think that should be misinterpreted. This isn't somehow an attempt by city planners or council to dictate that your front step must fall onto the sidewalk. We recognize it's a high school. In fact, we're the ones who are constantly coping with the traffic issues around schools. We've had that conversation around this table before. So it is my belief, and where I am optimistic, is that the intent of our urban design guidelines can be met. The building could be brought up to the front of the site. We could have a drive-through, a kiss and ride, even some visitor parking off of Mapleview, but still accomplish what the intent of those guidelines are. And as at Park Street, or the Aurelia replacement for Park Street, the playing field can be behind. That can allow the students to access the playing field safely. Up at Park Street, they've got a slope on the site too, so there's a bit of a retaining wall being built there. And I think when the question's asked, what are we looking for, that's what I'm looking for. And I really hope over the next 2 weeks that a genuine effort can be made by both sides, to see some of that flexibility and accomplish that. So I'm going to support the deferral motion, as you might expect, since I asked the clerk to draft it. I have some misgivings in doing so, because I never believe in wasting time and money, but I don't believe, I'm going to bet on at least the potential to overcome some of these issues. And if 2 weeks from now, the intent of our guidelines has not been met, or if the trustees see the new plan and decide they don't approve that, or if staff aren't willing to support a new plan, then we will be no further behind than we are today, except for the passage of 2 weeks' worth of time. So I would ask you, members of council, to support this motion. Regardless of how optimistic or not you are, I think it's worth the two weeks. Other comments or questions? Councillor Khan.
I certainly will support the request for the deferral of 2 weeks. I think if we put things into context, Mayor Lehman, residents, if this was any other type of an application, and certainly an application of this magnitude and scale, residents would expect us to uphold a minimum set of standards, and certainly ones that council and the people that they chose to represent them spent certainly the previous term and plus developing to the satisfaction of the residents. So, certainly where logical and reasonable any applicant it's expected that they might propose some minor variances or minor changes, and it's expected that our staff would take those reasonable arguments into consideration and pass judgment, whether supporting them or recommending against. And but certainly if something of this order of magnitude, we should certainly hold ourselves to expect no less diligence is applied. Certainly state that it's relatively new that I'm hearing about the safety. Up until now, I would suggest that the discussion was around time and money and the expense of moving it. Certainly willing to entertain and look at the topic of safety. The idea of a lay-by-lane was brought up at Development Services meeting back in June. I don't know what happened over July and August, but apparently it's not part of it. So, and in further conversation and investigating and looking at the matter, we have to take into consideration that this is not an elementary school that we're talking about. This is a high school. There's a certain level of maturity that's expected around high school, and bringing this closer to proximity of a main street, we're also expecting more students might be accessing public transit. So there's proximity to where the bus routes would go. So bringing it to the north end of the site certainly makes sense and is reasonable. And if you incorporate a lay-by-lane there for drop-offs, that's certainly reasonable as well. But also for those students where there are where either the students are driving or parents are dropping off and picking up. Having that entrance, the access and egress points close to a signalized stop being at Mapleview would make sense, rather than having that kind of influx and concentration of traffic flow, certainly first thing in the morning and in the afternoon, in the middle of, much farther and deeper into the residential neighborhood, certainly doesn't make sense. So again, I support staff's recommendation to bring this more towards the north end of the lot. But I will support the deferral. I agree with you wholeheartedly that wherever there's an opportunity for parties to continue continue discussion as long as they're fruitful discussions and done so in good faith. I think it makes sense for us to try and come out with a plan that serves the students' population as well as serves the residents, and has done so with the best interest of planning in mind. So I will support it.
Thanks, Councillor Khan. Councillor Severa.
I have a question for clarification to Mr. Naylor, just to see where we
Naylor?
are at. Mr. Naylor, in case that we can come up with a compromise with the school board, and what's going to happen next in 2 weeks? They have to come up in 2 weeks with a new site plan to be approved, or we have to wait a few months or 3 months or 5 months. If we have to wait for a new site plan, can you fast track this?
Your Worship and members of council, as per the discussions this evening, I expect that the school board and staff will get together immediately, tomorrow or the next day perhaps, as soon as the proposed revisions are made as outlined tonight with the resolution, and we will start discussions. In 2 weeks' time, we will report back to council as to the results of that discussion, and council will then make a decision based upon staff's recommendation of the revision to the plan.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. I just want to say I think he already mentioned all the points, and also Councilor Khan about this. I think worth to give a try. 2 weeks is not a big deal, and I hope that the school board can come up with a compromise with the city, because we've been spent time and money in the process. All the study we have done on the South End. So, anyways, I'll support the fair motion. I think it's important that we give the time that school board can come up and some kind of a compromise with us.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Severa. Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. I'm really glad you brought up the pictures and the facts behind the high school in Aurelia. This is a really good example on kind of what we're looking for. I don't know, a lot of people, there might be a few people there in the public or other stakeholders viewing this as the city's just not giving in. Why can't, think of the children, why is this not going forward? And something that people really need to understand is we're being entrusted with building a better Barrie. We're being entrusted with building a Barrie of tomorrow, and we've got a lot of annex lands in Ward 10 and other areas of the cities, and this is a chance to get it right. This is not something that we can quickly, make a mistake on, and we can fix the following years in other legislation. This is something that future generations for decades, hundreds of years, are going to be looking at us. And because we're trying to, make up for lost time, because we're trying to get things done quicker, it doesn't mean we want future generations to look back at everybody, the school board, council, and the community, and say, what were they thinking? Why didn't they have the insight to make an appropriate decision? So this is, this has definitely become a little more political than I would have liked. And Mayor Lehman said at the beginning of his comments, actually Councillor McCann also said it, we all want to get the school built. There's not someone here who wants to get it built or someone who doesn't want to get it built. We're all really on the same page. And moving forward with this motion, I don't want this to become this was a win for the city, or this was a win for the school board. That's usually what politics sometimes becomes, and this is not what it should be. This is more about changing the tone moving forward from here on out. And if in the next 2 weeks we can get to where we want to be, that's great. But we shouldn't be going back to our respective parties and kind of saying that we got this from them. This is really about doing that. In terms of the safety issues, I trust our competent and planning staff in making sure it's appropriate. I'm more concerned about getting this done quicker, because if the timelines keep being pushed and Barrie Central gets to the point where it's closed, I'm more concerned about the safety of putting excess students at Innisdale. That's something more that affects that's concerning of me. So I'm very trusting in terms of our planning staff, and this is we've put our attitudes beside let's leave politics out of it. You don't build schools with politics and one-liners. You build them out of bricks and hard work. So let's get this going.
Any other comments, members of council? Supplemental, Councillor Khan? On the amendment.
No, I want to make an amendment.
Oh, further amendment. Okay, go ahead. It does need to be in written form as we're in council.
Okay, looking to change one word or add one word.
And it'll be really quick to write it up.
I will write one word.
Madam Clerk.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Lehman. So what I will put in writing while we discuss it is, if there is a discussion, is I'd like to amend paragraph 2, the first line of paragraph 2 before it goes into the A and B, just providing a detailed memorandum. Mayor Lehman, I'd like to ask that staff provide a more detailed report when they come back to council, so that for the benefit of those involved, certainly for the benefit of our colleagues in council who are going to want to eagerly see sort of the results of the next 2 weeks' efforts, so that we can best use our best judgment in either support or declining any recommendation. So that's what I'm going to be adding.
I think that we give them direction. I trust staff will come back with the details.
If you're okay with that, Councillor Khan, I think our planning staff are here and heard you that we're looking for a very detailed memorandum. That's more work, but I think the intent here was that that these meetings be very well documented, so that the problems and challenges and solutions, I think it's worded as, the issues with the North End location and the potential solutions to address them are well documented, but that what transpires in the meeting is reported to council, I think, is the intent, so that the memorandum, this wording, would, as it says, the matters discussed by board staff and city staff at their meetings. So give us lots of detail if you would.
We will.
Understood as direction, okay. If this passes, then we'll forgo the written amendment. Are there any other comments or questions on the amendment? Okay, so just to summarize, this is to defer the denial of the site plan for 2 weeks to give peace a chance. I'll call the question. Those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. How can you be opposed to peace? Thank you, members of council. I also want to make note that the 3 Barrie trustees are here tonight, Kathleen Akins, Krista Main, and Jennifer Cameron, and all 3 of you have been working on this issue. All 3 of you have been working on it in an attempt to find a solution, and personally, I appreciate that effort by all 3 of you. Tough issue. Thank you for engaging with council and on behalf of your residents, and for coming tonight. Members of council, Section D as amended is to be adopted. Are there any further comments or questions? Recorded vote's been requested. Madam Clerk, please conduct the recorded vote.
Starting with yourself this evening.
Yes.
Councillor Ainsworth?
Yes.
Councillor Ramita?
Yes.
Councillor Shipley is not present. So Councillor Ward? Yes. Councillor Silvera?
Yes.
Councillor Prowse?
Yes.
Councillor Khan?
Yes.
Councillor Morales?
Yes.
Councillor McCann?
Yes.
And the motion's carried unanimously by those in attendance.
Okay, it has been unanimously approved to defer that for 2 weeks with the additional direction provided. Thank you very much, members of council. Section E, please, Councillor McCann.